All right. I've put together a short routine with this idea of incorporating faster paced movements to get the heart rate elevated amongst slower, more intentional and methodic classic yoga postures. So this is going to be a short routine. We're going to start off with a little warm up, go through all the movements, get our blood pumping, and then make our way down to the floor, for a rest. So all you need is yourself and maybe a sticky surface. We're going to be moving from side to side and back and forth, so make sure that the area is clear. We're just going to start off with some head circles. So try to bring your chin down towards your throat, making the back of your neck as long as possible. Yeah? And then turn your head over to the left. And then lift your chin up and draw a big arc in the air with your nose here all the way over to your right shoulder. And then bring your chin towards your throat, nose towards the center again. We'll go around like this 2 more times, really trying to get a big, big motion with the nose here. I like to imagine that I'm like trying to really scrape the edges of a pan or the inside edge of a jar with my nose here. You can go the other direction. And then we'll do some arm circles. So let's just start with the one arm, whichever arm. Reach your arm forward and up, and then back behind you, and down, and forward, and up. Again, trying to go as far as possible, mostly moving around in the shoulder joint here. So it's okay for your chest and your torso to move a little bit, but we're trying to mostly use the range of motion within the shoulder, which may be more or less than what I have. And it might be different from right to left. And let's go around in the other direction a couple times here. Yes. And then we'll switch to the other side. So switch to the other hand, drawing really big circles. It doesn't really matter to me which direction you're going in. You'll have an opportunity to switch it up. You can definitely switch it before I cue to. We're just trying to get a big motion here in the shoulders, warm up that joint. All right, and if you haven't switched yet, go ahead and do so now. Going in the other direction. Maybe in one direction you feel like you can reach a little bit further. You've got a little easier range of motion on that side or in that direction. All right, when you're finished, stop, and then take your hands here and grab onto your shoulders. We've got our arms sort of crossed in front. We're gonna plant those feet really solid here, and we're gonna do another one of those head rolls, only instead of doing the roll with our head, we're gonna do the roll with our chest. So lean over to one side, and then let your chest start to curl forward, and then over to the other side, and let your chest start to lift up. And we'll go around again, trying to keep this movement again in the upper part of your body, trying to keep your pelvis really stable. I can really feel the muscles of the torso working, not only to pull me in these different shapes, but to keep me from falling over. You can try going in the other direction, see if that feels any different to you. Whoa. All right, the next time that you are upright, go ahead and stop. You can bring your arms down to your side, or better yet, bring them down to your thighs. And we're going to do a hip hinge here. So we're going to try to move mostly at the hip, trying to keep the knees relatively straight. They can totally bend a little bit if they need to, and trying to keep the back pretty straight as well. So you'll notice that as I hinge at the hips, my chest goes from being upright to being almost parallel to the floor. And I'm just going to slide my hands down my legs and then come back up to the standing position. Again, just hinging at the hips here. We'll do that a few more times. You might also notice that my hips have to sort of move back a little bit. So let your bum move back. That'll help you stay balanced. You might also notice that this can feel like quite a big stretch in the back of the legs. Half forward fold here. This is something that's commonly practiced in yoga classes. I really like it. It's like a nice stretch to do. Even first thing in the morning, I'll go through some of these stretches before embarking on my cardio activities. Okay? The next time that you are standing upright, go ahead and stop. We're going to do some calf raises here. So you can place your hands on your hips or you can reach them out to the side for balance. We're going to lift those heels up and then lower them down. I don't know if you could hear my ankles crackling as I came up into this tiptoe position. We're going to do this movement several more times. This is another one of those exercises, stretches, warm-ups that I'll do first thing in the morning before I embark on any kind of cardio activities, especially if that cardio involves like running, right? This is a nice way to warm up the tissue and muscles of the feet and the ankles. I'm so happy that I learned this one because I used to get really terrible like ankle cramps while running, and it made me really hate it. All right, let's do a couple more of these. We don't want to get tuckered out too early in the game here. And then bring your heels down and transition to a position where you've got some space in front of you. So I'm going to come down here to the bottom of my mat. Yeah. And we're going to just practice walking. So if you're familiar with meditation, walking meditation is a really common one. And it's really a meditation that's done while doing an activity, commonly practiced while walking. And the idea is to be fully present with the activity that you're doing. So we're going to step forward here and feel the way that your foot connects with the floor. Maybe it's your heel first. You might be thinking about rolling your foot down, or maybe you feel that sort of peel off the ground with the back foot. Right? Being present with these steps. And when you reach the end of your mat or the end of your room, go ahead and walk backwards. Right? Again, being very present. We don't often walk backwards. So we have to pay a little bit closer attention here to make sure that we don't stumble or trip over anything. When you reach the bottom of your mat or the end of your room, walk forward again. And you can pick up the pace a little bit if you like here. We're going to walk forward and backward a few times. Just getting started. Practicing these movements and then switching it up a little bit. Forward and backwards. Feeling the way that your toes touch the ground first when you step back. Maybe feeling how the ball of your foot helps to stabilize you, and then your heel comes down. The next time that you walk up towards the front edge of your mat, go ahead and stop and stay. And we're going to bend those knees and sit down into a chair position. Okay, bending both knees here. Let those knees go way, way forward. You can reach your arms out in front of you to help with balance. Go ahead and come back up to standing. And lift up your right foot and step it back, just a tiny step. It doesn't have to be a really big step here. All right. Keep your foot like that, heel lifted, toes on the floor, and we're going to sit down into another chair here, a little bit of a modified chair. Okay, stand back up, and then you're going to slide your right foot back a little bit further, as if you took a bigger step back, and we'll try that chair again. We're going to do 3 more step backs. So don't go too far all at once. Slow and steady. Pretty soon, this position is going to be recognized less and less as a chair pose and more as a lunge. Okay. Once you've stepped back 3 more times, stop. We're going to step forward just a little bit. Find that chair or lunge. Stand up. Step forward just a little bit. Find that chair or lunge. Stand up. And we'll gradually make our way back to that starting position. I think I must have done a little bit too big of a jump near the beginning there, because now I'm kind of back in my chair. So once you've got your feet next to each other, go ahead and sit down into a chair. Stand up. And then step back with the left foot, and we're going to keep on going. We're going to step back and walk backwards to the back of your mat or your space, and then walk forwards again. So maybe that chair transition to a lunge felt like a lot, and maybe the heart rate is a little bit elevated. Maybe your breathing was increased a little bit too. And walking forwards and backwards can be kind of our little break period here. Cardio, let me tell you, some people like it. It's not fun for me. It's uncomfortable, it's painful, it takes a really long time for me to get used to. And I think that adding these little high heart rate snacks into our movement routines could be a really good way of starting to introduce that concept to our nervous system. So the next time that you are up at the top of your mat, go ahead and bend both knees, sit down into your chair, and then come back up. Slide your left foot back just a little bit, like you were going to step backwards, and then bend both knees again, and then stand back up. And we'll do this on this side, trying to take slow little steps back, moving from that chair into a pretty deep lunge, right? Only go as far as you can. I'm trying to aim for about 5 steps back and then 5 steps forward. So I make it from my lunge and transition, almost morph back into my chair. Very good. When you're finished, stand back up and we'll walk backwards. And we'll walk forwards. And go back and forth a couple more times here. If your breathing got a little heavier, see if you can calm it down a little bit. Giving our nervous system a little bit of reset before we move into that next fast-paced activity. So come to the center of your space. If you're using a sticky mat, you can come into the center of your sticky mat and turn towards the long edge of it. And we're going to progress up into half of a jumping jack. So the first thing we're going to do is step out to the side with one foot and then step back into the center. And then we'll do it on the other side. Step out to the side, step back into the center. Yes. Yep. And so this is essentially it, right? You can pick up the pace, right? You could add some arms. So step out to the side, lift up the same arm, step back in, step, lift, step back in, step, lift, step back in, and keep on going. Right? I'm going to speed this up. So I want to feel like I'm getting that blood pumping. I want to get my heart rate elevated. I want to start to breathe a little bit harder. Yeah. Doing partial jumping jacks here. This is a really great way to sort of get into jumping jacks if it's not something you've done for a while, or you're trying to avoid like bouncing or high impact for the time being. Okay. All right, the next time you step out to the side with the right foot, stay, pivot on your left heel so that your left toes are pointing more towards the short edge of the mat. Bend your left knee, lift your arms up to shoulder height. We've come into a warrior two here. Go ahead and straighten out your knee, bring your arms down. We'll move in and out of this a couple times. So bend your knee, lift your arms up to shoulder height, straighten your leg, bring your arms down. Now, if your breathing got labored during those half jumping jacks, see if you can slow it down here. You might even try to match your breath with your movement. So I like to inhale as I move into my warrior, and then a really slow exhale as I move out. Let's do two more. So just taking like a slow movement break from that fast pace. And move into your warrior. We're going to try to stay like this with the legs as you bring your left forearm down towards your knee, and see if you can just like let your arm rest on your knee instead of resting your whole body on the knee. Let your arm rest on the knee and reach your right arm up towards the ceiling like you're trying to get something up there. So really this left arm's just kind of dangling. Yeah. Keep on breathing. Slow and steady. This is hard too, but it's hard in a different way. Can you bring your right arm down to your side and then reach your left arm up towards the ceiling? Yeah. Now we're in a reverse warrior. All right. We're going to move out of this warrior. So straighten out your leg, bring your left arm down. You can pivot on your left heel here to point those toes more towards the long edge of the mat. Step in with the right foot, and then half jumping jacks. Yeah. Going at your own pace, right? If you're a person who does do jumping jacks and you think it would be okay to do that, you can jump both legs out, arms up, both legs in, arms down. Yeah? This is option 2. When option 2 starts to feel like it's getting overwhelming, you're starting to lose control of your breath, go back to option 1. Yeah. All right, we're going to try to do that warrior sequence on the other side. So the next time you have your legs wide, or the next time you step your left foot out to the side, keep that left foot out to the side. Turn on your right heel. Bend your right knee. Lift your arms up to shoulder height. Warrior 2. Go ahead, straighten out your leg and bring your arms down. You're welcome to adjust, maybe heel toe that left foot back a little further as you move in and out a few more times, trying to slow down your breath here. So this is also hard. But it's hard in a different way. And can we find that calm breath as we move in and out a few times? Yeah? Has the breath slowed down? Great. Move into your warrior. Stay like this. As you bring your right forearm down towards your right leg, reach your left arm up towards the ceiling. And remember, we're not putting a lot of weight in this right arm here. We're reaching up towards the ceiling like you're trying to get like an apple or a plum on a tree up there. Yeah. Sweep your left arm down and then reach your right arm up. Now trying to grab that plum or apple with your right arm. Still trying to maintain that calm breath. It's hard. And then release. Bring your right arm down, straighten out your right knee. You can pivot on your right heel to point your toes towards the long edge of the mat and heel toe your left foot in a little bit. You don't need to bring that foot in all the way. I like to have my feet a little wider than hip distance apart for this next movement series. Those of you who've been with me for a while will find it very familiar. We're going to do the jellyfish. So adjust your feet accordingly and swing your arms around your body. I like to shift my weight from leg to leg. Maybe you want to keep your legs really firmly attached to the floor, your feet, I mean. We're just getting a smooth sort of swishy movement. Unless you follow some of my videos every single day, you probably aren't doing this movement every day. Swingy, twisty things like this can be a nice sort of novel relief for our body, especially after doing something intense like jumping jacks in between warrior sequences. Okay? I'm going to try to pick up the intensity here. So can you start to shove your elbows back? Instead of swishing your arms like jellyfish tentacles, we're going to jab those elbows back. Yeah. And I'm a real like Buffy the Vampire Slayer buff, so to speak. I also love zombie movies, so I'm really imagining that I'm shoving my way through a crowd of vampires or zombies to save the princess or the prince. All right, we're gonna move from this one into a big swinging arms, and I'll shift my weight from leg to leg as I swing my arms back and forth like a big pendulum, or maybe one of those rides at the theme park. When you start to get bigger movements in, you might have brought your legs a little bit wider. That's great. Go ahead and do a couple more swings from right to left. And then stop. Let your arms sort of swing with gravity and momentum in front of you until they stop. Okay, if your feet came a little bit wider, that's fine, that's great. We're gonna use that. If your feet didn't come a little wider through that sequence, you might heel toe them just a little bit wide. They don't have to be as wide as ever. You can always make adjustments. We're gonna go through a series of movements that we know as the circle of life. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry, I will show you. So we're gonna start off by reaching the arms out and up. Yeah. And then remember that hip hinge we did at the beginning? We're gonna do that again. So hinge at the hips and reach your arms out to the side, right? Now it's like you're an airplane or an eagle above the ground. Stay here for a little bit, long back, and then go ahead and round your back and let your arms reach down towards the floor. Okay, we're gonna sweep those arms out and come all the way back up, reaching towards the ceiling, and then bend your knees and bend your elbows. Yes, we're coming into like a goddess squat here. All right, let's go through that again. So stand up tall, reach your arms up. As you bring your arms down to shoulder height, hinge at the hips, come halfway down. Right? Stay here, have a couple breaths. Trying to slow down that out breath as you forward fold the rest of the way. And then sweep your arms out and up, come all the way up. Last movement is the goddess squat. Bend your knees, bend your elbows. There we go. Let's see about adding some breath to this. See if that helps us slow down the breath. You don't need to follow the breath, but if you'd like, you can inhale as you reach up. When you're ready to exhale, sweep your arms out to the side, come halfway down. We're just gonna stay here as you breathe in. And again, when you're ready to exhale, breathe out and round, forward fold. Yep. Inhale, come all the way back up, reaching towards the sky. And then exhale, bend your knees, goddess squat. Very good. Go ahead and stand all the way up. You can bring your arms down to your side. You can shake out those arms a little bit. Heel toe your feet back together. That was still pretty intense. Let's have a little moment here to breathe. And if you want to walk around and practice your walking meditation while you do that, you can. I'm going to walk in a circle here, so I'm just walking forwards. Maybe you walk over to a glass of water and have a refreshing sip. Whatever you're doing, whether it's still or mobile, try to slow down that breath. And see if we can recover that breath before moving into the next activity. And we'll make our way down to the bottom of this space. So you might be at the bottom of your yoga mat, or maybe you're at the bottom of the rug that you're practicing on. Okay. We're going to move into a forward fold here, and we're going to move into a forward fold that's deep enough to get our hands on the floor. So if that means bending your knees, so be it. That's just fine. So you can roll, you can hinge, get your hands down on the floor here, and then start to walk your hands forward. We're going to walk our hands forward towards like a downward facing dog, and then we're going to keep walking our hands forward into a plank. All right, and then start to walk your hands back through that downward facing dog, back to your forward fold, and then back up to standing. We're going to try to do that 4 more times. So take your time, right? We're not trying to do this one fast. I think that this is a challenging enough transition from standing to a plank that we don't need to add in those fast movements. In fact, you can even think of this as a continuation of your walking meditation. Now we're walking on our hands. So try to keep that breath calm and stable. Feel the way that your hands have to connect and push away from the floor to get from one position to the next. Good. The next time that you walk your hands forward into your plank, go ahead and stay there for a couple of breaths. Okay. And then lift your hips up and move into your downward facing dog. You can pedal your heels down one at a time. You can walk your feet a little closer to your hands if you prefer that for your downward facing dog. Do your dog however you like. And then bring your knees down onto the floor. And move into some sort of resting position. And that could be like a child's pose is a really common resting position. This isn't restful for everyone, so maybe you're in a seated position. Or you could transition onto your back, because that's where we're going next. Trying to slow down that breath again, because I know that even though that transition from plank to standing is slow paced, it still takes a lot of strength to do. And when the muscles are challenged, they need more oxygen for energy. which means a bigger breath. And in these moments where we're doing something easy or familiar, like walking or standing still or lying down, we can start to recover and prepare the body for the next activity. So if you are in some other position, go ahead and transition to lying down on your back now. And straighten out your left leg, gather your right knee in towards your chest. And you can hold on to your knee here and get a stretch for the front of your left hip. And then we're going to switch sides. So straighten out your right leg and bring your left knee in towards your chest. Stretching out the front of your right hip here. Okay, and then we're going to switch again. And then we'll switch again. And then we're going to keep on switching here. So you might actually start to not quite bring that extended leg down to the floor, right? You could totally touch your knee as they come closer to you, or you could brace yourself on the floor by reaching your arms out at a soft T. We're going to keep on switching here several more times. So this is similar to some of the movements that we did today. We're just in a different orientation in space. So I find this movement really similar to the lunges. It's very much like skipping without gravity. Other modalities know this as doing bicycle crunches. Let's do a couple more on each side. Call that 1 and 2. All right, go ahead and stop. Bring your feet down onto the floor, knees bent, heel toe your feet a little wider than hip distance apart. And we're just going to rock those knees from side to side here. Getting a little rotation in those hip joints. A lot of cardiovascular activities are like front to back movements. So getting those jellyfishes in, rocking your knees from side to side can be a really nice alternative, like in between movement for your body. You could keep doing this, or you can gather your knees in towards your chest and rock them from side to side. Okay, whatever you're doing, go ahead and stop and then transition into a position that feels like a good resting position for you. And I like to just sort of stretch my legs out on the floor, but you might like to lie on your side or move into your couch. And we're just going to take a little moment here to be still, because cardio and like high energy movement is a lot of movement, right? It's a lot of movement. And in our day-to-day lives and in our yoga classes, there is movement, but it might not be as big and it might not be as fast. And these moments of rest that we allow ourselves help our body recover from that activity. Either so, it can transition to a relaxed evening, or so that it can gain back some energy to continue with the day. We're trying to relax the breath here. Maybe finding a pause between the out breath and the in breath. That little extra moment of extended stillness. Do a little wiggle at the end of your toes and fingers maybe. You might rock your head from side to side. And do whatever other movements will help you transition from this activity into the rest of your day or the rest of your night. Ta-da!